Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another episode of Testing in Nutshell. This is Neeraj Kumar saying, and we are talking about UFT tutorials. As a part of today's tutorial, we are further continuing with our different recording modes in UFT, which are basically helpful for enhancing your record experience. And in fact, there are certain activities which might not be feasible enough to capture using your steps, which you can actually write using editor view. But sometimes recording becomes must and important to capture certain objects as well. In the previous tutorial, analog recording, we understood that what if a human interaction using a mouse or keyboard is not understood, how analog can be useful. But when it comes to object which is not being identified for any particular reason, that's where we make use of low-level recording mode, which works in a different principle altogether. But what's that principle? How does low-level recording helps you to capture and understand a particular object in the application? Let's understand in this particular tutorial today. As a part of this tutorial, we are continuing ahead with recording modes in UFT. And in this tutorial, we'll be understanding how to use low-level recording mode. In order to understand low-level recording mode, we must understand that what exactly is low-level recording mode all about. There might be possibilities when developers are working on certain applications and they may have certain objects being pushed to you in different builds. Now, to continue the process, certain objects may not be available at the point of being identified as an object in the repository. If you look at the object repository, basically an object is identified by clicking on this, and in fact using this button you identify and capture the properties of an object. The object properties do have further classification in terms of understanding that it can have mandatory object properties or assistive object properties, which makes it unique in the application to be identifiable. But at some point of time, what happens, maybe an object may have the desired properties which makes it to work but does not allow an automation testing tool to be identified from the application. So that's where we need low-level recording mode. That means an operation when clicked manually or performed manually can be done, but using an automation testing tool you cannot identify that object due to the conflict properties or may not have the unique set of properties which makes it different from all other objects on the application. Now low-level recording mode can definitely help you with that. As you see that when the object is not identified, it will not be listed in the object repository, and if an object is not listed in the object repository, you cannot write a line of script on that, or you cannot perform an activity on that object. So let's understand how to make use of low-level recording mode in order to do the same job. Now here we are trying to interact with the same application which we will be using to quickly record certain steps here. Now, for your kind information, as you just saw that object repository is completely empty, we are recording a fresh script on that. So let's capture some of the steps from here. Say the username is John and the password is capital HP. Press OK. And soon after login, I close this application and stop recording. Now if you see here, we have got 4 different steps to be performed, which is to enter the agent name, password, OK button, and close the application. Assume that this OK button which exists on the application, let me just open that once again for you. So here we have the OK button. Assume that for some reason if I click on this manually it works, but my UFT is unable to identify this. So let's comment this particular step, and this is how you comment in UFT by using a single quotation in front. Now also assuming that right now the object is working perfectly fine, but I'm just assuming that this OK button is not being listed in the object repository because it cannot be identified. Now you know pretty well that as I don't have the OK object in my repository, that's the OK button in my repository, I cannot perform this line. In fact, I have commented this line, or if you want me to delete this, I can also delete this line, and without this particular line I cannot proceed to this activity, which is to close the next application which appears, or the next page that appears after login, right? Now that's where we want to show you that it will fail. So let's have a confirmation on this. Okay, so we forgot to understand that the application window parent object name is the same. So assume that I still want to have that line, but I want to perform this without the object. Okay, so this is quite which will make it fail, because we do know that the object does not exist in the repository, so this line will fail. The only reason I'm doing it because the application name remains the same. That's the reason it was able to close it. So let's run this. Okay, so now you see that OK button was not found in the object repository. So assume that this is our real case, that this OK button exists. I can click on this manually, but my automation tool is not able to identify this in the repository. Thus, even if I try writing some steps, it may not be feasible enough for the tool to do that job for me. Now that's where a low-level recording mode will be required. So I'm just commenting this line now, as this is not useful for me at all. I'm just going to cancel this page and open a fresh window so that we can start from the beginning. And then how do you use low-level recording mode is click on recording button, drop down from here and select low-level recording mode, and just click on OK button. One step is captured here, plus stop the recording. And now you would see that there's a new step being captured which says window this particular one dot click on this particular coordinate. Now if you see, these are all WPF windows, which is our application, but now it is checking quite generic as a generic window named with this, and on this window click on this, not specific to any object. But this does our job. Why? Because from the scenario we understand that the object can be clicked on it, but it cannot be identified by the object repository. So the approach using low-level recording mode, what we are trying to do is trying to click on the object from the front end, from the UI, rather than identifying it by the repository using the properties. So we are bypassing the properties identification and trying to click just like a user from the front end. So let's run this with added this particular step. Again, to confirm, in the object repository you do not have the OK button, right? You do not have the OK button. Let's click on this and run this particular script. Hooray! So that works. The reason is now it clicked on the object from the front end, that is the UI. It just went to this unidentified window with particular name like this and clicked on this particular coordinate of that application or that particular window, and it could just click on that and took you to the next page where you could close this, right? Even if you look at the results, that does justify you that all the 4 steps were done. And if you look at the step 3, it says you told me to do something as a click on that particular object, and I could do that on this particular coordinate. And this is about window, whereas other one is about WPF window. So this is how the low-level recording mode can be very useful at certain point of time when the object is unidentified, but not for everything again. If all your objects are not identified, maybe if it is a set feature, like entering a value, it might be a table or a grid which might have to select certain values from the drop down. So you just can't try low level everywhere. It's just the step which fails without identification of the object. You do that for low level recording mode. Alright, so that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team.